When we made our McDonald's Spicy Chicken McNuggets, you were praise hands emoji. Then we ran out, and you were streaming tears emoji. Now they're back, so you can be grinning face with sweat emoji. Order ahead on the McDonald's app.
Break out the party hat emoji, because a 6-piece Spicy Chicken McNuggets is just $2.50. And if that's not enough, try a Spicy McCrispy or a Spicy Deluxe McCrispy. And if that's not enough, there's always the sauce. Price and participation may vary.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach. This is the show where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love. And as a reminder, I'm here to help you understand your dreams. So if you have a dream that's got you stumped, email me at debbie@dreampowerradio.com. I can help you interpret your dream or answer any general questions you may have about dreams. So again, my email is debbie@dreampowerradio.com. We deal with all kinds of issues on this program related to how to live our dream life. Issues like how to deal with fear, overcome self-limiting beliefs, improve our relationships. There's one subject I've avoided until now, and that's procrastination. Have I been procrastinating about procrastination? Well, we're about to find out as I bring in my guest today, Eric M. Twiggs. Eric is the author of The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. He's going to help us see how we could achieve our dreams by breaking this time-wasting habit. Welcome to Dream Power Radio, Eric.
Thank you, Debbie. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Oh, thank you. So, Eric, what got you interested in dealing with procrastination?
So in my work, I've done over 28,000 coaching sessions with executive leaders and entrepreneurs. And here's what I found. Like, you can have two people that, one gets good results, the other person gets great results. And in most cases, those two people, they have a similar level of know-how. They know a lot of the same things, but in all my years, what I found is that the difference between the good and the great is that the great, they just have this uncanny habit of being able to do what they need to do, whether they feel like it or not. And that's the real difference. And that's why overcoming procrastination is so important.
Why do people procrastinate?
Well, and there really isn't one answer, but it's several things. So when you start to really peel the onion, a lot of times they're dealing with anxiety and fear. That's a leading cause of procrastination. And so they go to things to relieve their anxiety. So let's say, for example, Debbie, you've got a presentation that you have to do, and you're feeling a lot of anxiety about it. So you put it off, and it's easier to surf Facebook or check your email to give you that relief. But the problem is the more you procrastinate, you start feeling more anxiety because the deadline is getting closer. So you feel anxiety about the event, and you feel anxiety about the fact that you're procrastinating about the event. So that anxiety, those feelings are really a leading cause. There's other things as well, but that's right up there as far as one of the leading causes.
So what are some of the things that people end up doing to procrastinate, and why do they keep doing it?
So there's something that's called creative avoidance. That's where you ever see people, like, they're in an office environment, they start, organizing their desk, they're dusting, they're cleaning, they're basically doing everything except for the specific task at hand. Because it's like they feel like when you feel those feelings of fear, you feel like you're out of control. So it's an attempt to regain control by doing these tasks, these organizational tasks, and organizing your filing cabinets and things like that. But you're really avoiding what you really should be doing.
And you think it all boils down to fear?
In many cases, it does. Another leading cause is when you don't really have clarity of purpose. Your show is about dreams and things of that nature. Another big reason that people procrastinate is because they lack clarity of purpose. And I always say that clarity is the starting point of success. And a lot of times when you can't connect what you're doing to a bigger picture, it's easier to procrastinate as opposed to when you really are on purpose and on point.
Okay, so let's say you find yourself doing all kinds of busy work instead of doing, things that you would consider important in your life. But what if you're doing it because you're not sure what you should be doing? How do you figure out what you should be doing?
So here's another reason. You just touched on something that's a leading cause of procrastination is perfectionism, right? So a lot of times there are people that they need to have everything figured out before they move forward, right? And I have an embarrassing confession to make, Debbie, as it relates to my book, The Discipline of Now. It took me 6 years to write a book about overcoming procrastination. It's embarrassing.
Look,
but here's why.
Go ahead. Tell me why.
I'm sorry.
Tell me.
But here's why. It's all about perfectionism, right? Because I didn't have everything figured out, so I would get to moments where I stopped. And here's something that people need to really remember. They want to write this down. Is that you can't allow perfect to become the enemy of progress. So sometimes you don't have to have it all figured out before you move. It's all about taking the next step. And that, a lot of times when you take that next step, the others appear.
I tell you, that's so true. And I have a confession of my own to make just about the writing process, because I'm a writer and I've written a bunch of books. And I found that one of the ways that I was able to finish books was just to do that, like not worry about being perfect, just getting down and say, okay, well, I'm going to write, a chapter a day, or I'm going to write 10, however much I said I'm going to do, during that time period I would do. And there are days I would do it and, it was just word salad and, it was not good. But the point is that I could get through it. And by the end, I would have a whole piece. And as anybody who knows anything about writing knows, writing is really about rewriting. So I would have something, it was complete. It may not have been perfect, but it was complete. I could then go back and then slowly improve all those pieces. But I had a basis on which to do it. Whereas if you're dealing with thinking, this piece I write has to be perfect, you'll never get past page 1. You should just be there saying rewriting. You'll say this is not right, and then not go further. And so you could apply it in other aspects aside from writing. For example, like let's say if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for a job, how would you apply that kind of principle to that?
Well, I think for that, clarity is the starting point of success. Again, so really being clear on exactly what you're looking for certainly makes it easier. But I mean, from a perfectionism standpoint, if you think that, hey, my resume isn't perfect, or I don't know what I'm going to say on the interview, or you start running those things through your mind, the key is just take the next step and show up. You just never know that hiring manager could be looking for you. That could be your day. And, I have people I work with that in the entertainment industry. They say that the audition that you don't go to is the part you would have gotten. And it's like, you just have to keep moving forward. You always have to be in action mode. And if you're thinking like a perfectionist, like, everything, I've got to have all the perfect answers to this interview. I've got to have my perfect resume. What's the point of going? You'll stop and you'll miss out on your goals.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. Showing up is everything, because you never know what's going to happen. And there could be that opportunity out
Right.
there that slips through your fingers just because you thought, oh, today's not the day to do it. But it can very well be.
Right.
Would you say that procrastination is actually self-destructive?
It certainly can be. Yes, absolutely. And the challenge is that it's like a silent killer because, people say this to me all the time. Oh, Eric, I work better under pressure. But I call that justification for procrastination. Because the bottom line, especially if you're doing something that's a creative project, it's not going to be as good if you wait till the last minute. And you can relate to that, Debbie, as a writer. That's the bottom line. Your ideas need time to develop and incubate. And if you just wait around till the last minute, it's not going to be as good of a product. So yes, I think that can be a self-destructive thing.
Yeah. And also, like you said at the beginning, when you said that you could have two people who are of the same intellect and the same education and drive, but one will do better because they do take the action. They don't procrastinate, and therefore those opportunities arrive for them, and those situations they're able to take advantage of because they're out there doing it, as opposed to the person who's just as able, just as talented, but for some reason just isn't taking that next step. Yeah. Is it possible to go through your life and in the end really be procrastinating but not really realizing that you're doing it?
I think it's possible. And that's why, so the book, it's all about the overall theme of my book is about awareness. So that's one of the things the reader will have a higher level of self-awareness, and you'll become aware in the moment to the times that you procrastinate. But it is possible because a lot of times we take our feelings as facts, right? So I know I want to lose weight. I want to be healthier, but I don't feel like waking up and going to work out. We take that feeling as a fact. So if we're not aware, we don't realize that we're really procrastinating. And so that's why it's good if you catch yourself in the moment and you read the book and apply some of the principles, you'll start to become aware of those times you're procrastinating and make the necessary adjustments.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Awareness is the key to everything in life, as far as I'm concerned. Is there a one-size-all solution to procrastination?
No, there isn't. There isn't. That's one of the things that motivated me to write this book. And I think that's one of the things that separate this book from others on the same topic, because, I read these books, they all say kind of saying, oh, don't check email till a certain time. And, you have to be an early riser. But there's a lot of things there's different things that work with different people. I mean, there's things about your genetics, if you're a morning person or you're a night owl, what are some of your personality tendencies? So the book really gets into that. And there's principles that you can apply based off of your genetics that can work for you.
Well, Eric, I want to speak more about this, but it's time to take a little break. We're speaking with Eric M. Twiggs about procrastination on Dream Power Radio, and we'll be right back.
When is a car not a car?
When it shows up in your dreams. Cars are one of the most common dream symbols. If you don't know why you're dreaming about cars or any image, it can leave you confused or scared. But that dream could be a solution to a pressing problem, or an insight into a solution that's been bugging you for years. Go to my website and sign up for a complimentary discovery session, and I'll help you understand why a dream is a terrible thing to waste. Go to thedreamcoach.net for more information.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, and welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach, and we're speaking with Eric M. Twiggs about procrastination. So, Eric, you talked a bit about, we said there was not a one-size-all solution to procrastination. You said had a lot to do about genetics. So can you go into that a bit more detail and explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, for example, we all have something that's called our circadian rhythm, right? That some people have more energy first thing in the morning. Other people have more energy, in the evening. They're more of like a night owl. And so something that would get me would be, I would try to do a creative project that's, let's say, in the evening time. I would try to write a blog or work on my book, and just the ideas just weren't coming. It wasn't working. I found myself procrastinating. But when I did try to do the same thing early, oh man, the ideas are flowing. And that's just an example of how it's not a one size fits all thing. So if you're one of the, if you read a book and says, oh, you have to do everything early, you have to be a morning person. But if you're more of a night owl, it may not work for you. So it's all about being aware. And the key takeaway is that you should schedule your high priority activities during those times of day when you have the most energy.
So it's important to understand yourself, because a lot of people might not even be aware enough to figure out that they're a morning person or they're an evening person or however it is. So again, that's where that awareness comes into play. Another thing is that you talk about there being like 4 personality types, and that also is a factor in how to deal with procrastination. So can you explain what those types are and how they would in fact deal with their own procrastination issues?
Yes. So first you have kind of your driver, dominant type A personality. They're very results focused. They're very bottom line focused. They want to win. So that person is going to procrastinate on those tasks that they don't tie to their ultimate goal or to the big picture. I mean, it could be things, little tasks like doing expense reports or doing some of the little detail related items, things that are important and need to be done, but they don't see the importance. So you just have to be aware. And then with your dominant personality type, you're less likely to delegate certain things too, because I need to make this happen. So sometimes you take on a little bit too much. So that's something you need to be aware of there. And then you have the person that's like that. They're that motivator personality type. They like things to be free and easy, and they like to have a good time. So they're going to procrastinate on some of the tedious and monotonous tasks. They're definitely going to procrastinate on, like people in this personality type don't make good accountants. They don't make good bean counters, let's say, because they like to be more outgoing and dealing with people. So you're going to procrastinate on things that are more time consuming. Then you have your analytical owl personality type. They tend to suffer from what's paralysis by analysis. They're the one, and they're very sensitive to criticism as well. So they're going to procrastinate. Like, they need to see things on paper. So if you're in this personality type and you hear something, if you get a piece of information, you want to see all the details. So if you're going to run a marathon, for example, you want to see the full plan. What should I eat? What time should I wake up? How often should I? You want the details. So you're going to procrastinate if you don't feel like you have everything all figured out. And then you have the supporter personality type that doesn't want to make waves, wants to see everybody get along, but you'll procrastinate on things that you perceive to be an unnecessary risk. You're more safety and comfort motivated, and your motivation, if you're that personality type, is more external. So if you're in that supporter boat, you would really benefit from like a peer group that's doing what it is that you want to do, or an external coach, because you really need that extra push to get yourself going. Unlike, say, that driver personality, they're more internally motivated. They're going to find a way to make it happen. So that's just a brief summary of the 4 different personalities. But again, it goes back to awareness.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, let's say you figured out what your personality type is. So you have a task that you have to do. It's still going to take discipline to carry it out all the way. So how do you instill that discipline inside you?
Well, again, I think it all depends on the task, but I think a key thing is to focus on the next step. I think, a lot of times we try to again, have everything figured out, but just take a small step. Every step counts. So for example, if you've got a project, if your goal is to finish your estate planning, this is something that people procrastinate on a lot. Picking up the phone to call the attorney counts as a step. Going up and Googling an estate planner, that counts as a step. So just really focusing on what the next step is. And then a lot of times that when you get step by step, you realize it's not as complicated as you think. So I think that helps. But again, depending on your person, I think everybody could benefit from, having a peer group of people that are moving in the same direction. Even if you've got the internal motivation, you would also benefit from being around a group of people that are looking to do the same thing that you are, or a group of people that have already done what you've done. So those are a couple of ideas that really help with that drive and overcoming procrastination.
No, I totally agree with that. In fact, I think you also talk about the benefits of having an accountability partner, even just one person who could help you keep on the right track.
Yes.
And actually help each other achieve their goals. So how would that work in practice?
That's huge. Like I have an accountability partner, and we've been talking every Sunday at 8:00 for the last 4 years, and I'm telling you, it's helped me do so much. So many of these things. From writing the book to, because there's certain things, like if I say, hey, I'm going to make this change to my website, I know that Sunday she's going to ask me, hey, Eric, so how did that change to your website go? Matter of fact, Eric, let me pull up your website and see if you made the change. So it really does help, just from, keeping you on task and even giving you additional ideas to help you move forward.
And I tell you, I really want to emphasize the importance of that, because so often we tend to think, we're in it by ourselves, whatever it is, we're in it by ourselves. And we don't stop to think that, if we just share what we're going through with somebody else, it helps. And it also, it's another person who can help you sort of reinforce your own internal drive by having that external, stimulus saying, okay, you're telling yourself, oh, I'm going to do this, but then something will come up, or it's easy to make excuses for not doing it. But if you do have somebody else there to say, hey, wait a second, have you done this? So again, I just wanted to emphasize how critical.
Yeah, you're 100%. No, you're 100% right. There's no, people say, oh, so this person's a self-made millionaire or self-made success. There's no such thing. Anybody that's at the top, they did it with help. The people that I know that are at that high level, they are great at building those relationships and being in networks.
Mm-hmm. And can you talk a bit about mastermind groups and how they could also help?
Oh, it's huge. Yes, absolutely. Because again, you're getting a group of people together. I'm in one of those as well. And, we talk every other week, and we share ideas and best, because it's easy to get stuck in your box, in your way of looking at things. And if somebody tells me, I'm trying to accomplish this thing, I can't, and they're like, hey, have you considered this? I'm like, why did I think of that? Because they're outside, they're giving me a different perspective. So I think, that is another thing that's just so critical. Just making sure you're but the key thing with the people is make sure it's the right people. Make sure it's people that they're moving in the direction that you're going in. It's not people that always have a negative word or reason why you can't do something. So here's another way I use these groups is, like, I ran a marathon, for example, a couple of years ago. I purposely told people I was running it. The reason being is I knew they were going to ask me how my training was going. And I'm telling you, there's something to be said for that public accountability when you put something out there like that. So I would encourage anybody that's working on a book, tell the right people that you're working on the book, just because they're going to ask you, how's the book coming? You don't want to tell them, oh, I stopped, I'm not doing anything.
Mhm. It's so true. It's sort of the value of shame in that sense. Yeah. Well, but here's another thing that people always say all the time too. I just don't have the time to do it. So can you speak a bit about how we just totally mismanage our time, whether we think
Yeah.
we're doing it or not?
Yeah. I mean, here's the bottom line. Yeah. We all have the same amount of time. And at the end of the day, you can find the time to do anything that you feel is important to you. I mean, and that's just the bottom line. It's like, for me, if something is going on with one of my children at school, I don't care what's happening. I'm going to make the time to be there. I wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm just too busy. I don't have time." So the real thing, and I tell people, because I like to be honest, especially people I coach. I'm like, look, just tell me you don't want to do it. Let's be honest with each other. Just say, Eric, I don't want to do this. Don't say I didn't have time. Because if something is important, you will find a way. If it's not important, you'll find an excuse.
This is so true, and because it's too easy to just say I don't have time because you're not making the time, and there's so many different techniques you can do to create it. One of the things that I do, and even getting back to the whole idea of writing, if you write one page a day, just tell yourself, I'm just going to write one page a day, which isn't very much. If you're writing, it's one page, it's not a big deal. But in 365 days, you've got a book. And
absolutely,
and I think you can apply that same thing to other areas of life, and whatever you're doing, whatever task you're doing, especially if it's a task, like you said, like, estate planning or something that you maybe don't want to do but need to do, breaking it up into those small parts and just making it as easy as possible so you're not overwhelmed. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. And one of the things that works is a lot of times when you put something on the calendar, it becomes important. So when you set aside a block of time to do something, that helps you to make the time. And so I work with a lot of people I coach, and I'll have them get a kitchen timer, set it for 30 minutes. During that window, they're not to be disturbed. They're not to take phone calls, do email, do social media, and then the comment with the clock ticking and them just solely focused on that task at hand, they tend to find time to get things done.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of that, one of the biggest time wasters that I think everybody grapples with in some way or another is social media. Do you have any techniques on how to manage your social media time?
Yeah, one of the big things I would recommend is just getting rid of all of like the alerts and the notifications when you get a new social media message. That's one thing. And there's apps that you can use to really start to track and measure how much time you're spending on social media. Like, for example, there's an app, it's called Rescue Time. And you can download it and it tells you how much time you're spending on social. It's kind of scary, actually, when you start to look at it. And then you can set it so that it'll block your internet access during a certain time window. And that can help you with the time blocking as well. So I would definitely make sure you're using the apps, and I would get rid of all of those different notifications. That's a good way to manage your social media.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Okay, Eric, we're all human, and I bet there are times when you find yourself avoiding doing something you'd rather not do. So what is your go-to process for kicking yourself of the procrastination habit?
Well, for me, I have to look at, is this something that I can delegate? Is this something that I can, make, like, for example, I hate to admit this, holiday shopping is one of those things. I don't like the idea of just being in the mall and standing in the long lines and everything that's involved with that, finding a parking space. So now I'm using more, of the online sites. A lot of things I'll get online and it just literally shows up at my doorstep. So I try to think about, are there ways that I can automate this and just make this process easier? Because holiday shopping still needs to be done. My kids will be very upset Christmas morning if there's not. They're not gonna. I can't say what kids I was procrastinating. I'm sorry, but so it still needs to be done. But I try to find ways to automate it and just make it easier.
Oh, what a great idea. Well, my final question to you is, how can people find out about you and about your book?
So you can find my book on thedisciplineofnow.com. That's the website. It's available in paperback, as an ebook, and it's also available as an audio book. And I have a very special offer for the listeners. Here's the offer. You can text the number 474747 and type in the words Twiggs Time, TWIGGS TIME. And once you do that, you will instantly receive a short video containing 2 powerful tips to beat procrastination.
That is a wonderful idea. Well, Eric, thank you so much for being on Dream Power Radio today. We've been speaking with procrastination expert Eric M. Twiggs. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International.